Topic number one today, the first wave, as Jonathan Gavoni refers to it as, 13 players have received an invitation to the NBA draft green room, including some of the names that you see on this list are like, okay, thanks for, stating the obvious news if you didn't know the sun actually came up today. But the 13 players that have received the invitation so far are Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe, Trey Johnson, Kaman Malawak, Jeremiah Fears, Khan Knipple, Kasparish Yakashonis, Yegor Demon, Demeen, my fault, Carter Bryant, Derek Queen, and Asanul. Those are the first batch of invites that were sent out. Now, there will be another 11 invitations that are expected to be sent out for some players to attend the green room. The green room is a staging area, basically, like right below the podium, where some of the top prospects go. We have seen in the past there have been prospects that have been in the green room and then found themselves slipped to late in the first round, maybe even the second round in some scenarios, and had players waiting for a very, very long time. Now, something I actually did not know about this, hand up on this, a little bit of just unknown by me, but the process of deciding who gets invited to the combine is basically asking the general managers and the presidents of the teams that are picking in the first round, and they vote on the top 25 players whose names they expect to hear called first. So that's to ensure that the players that aren't sitting around. So you can take away what you want from this list. Obviously, there's some very okay, those are obvious picks, but there's also some picks
Mhm.
in here that are like, okay, I've seen Carter Bryant mocked in some different spots. I've seen Asanul
Yeah.
predicted in some other spots. What do you take from, I guess, this being the first batch? And then, the second part of this question, are there some players that you were maybe shocked to not see a part of the first batch?
I don't think so. I think this validates a lot of the like early risers or the risers in the process. Like Carter Bryant, you mentioned being there. I would take this as a sign there's a real chance he goes in the lottery.
Mm.
There's a real chance like the Spurs at 14 has been linked a lot. I think this more credence to that. Derek Queen's been hovering right around 10. At one point he thought he was slipping a little bit, then he moved back up into the top 10. I think there's a good chance he sticks in the lottery as well. Asa Newell is the interesting one to me because you see him like typically in the later teens. Would expect him to be in the second wave, but him being in this first wave, I wonder if there's some lotto potential there for him as well.
Yeah, he had a really good year, freshman year at Georgia. Underrated, I think. Obviously, great tools with him and great winning tools. I think, obviously, what he did with Mountain Verde on that really good team with Cooper
Mhm.
Flag on that basketball team. Now, obviously, you know, there's no like Jace Richardson on here. There's no Will
Yep.
Riley on here. Some other guys that have kind of been mocked in that area. Nick Clifford's a guy who I've seen kind of in that, maybe borderline kind of range there. Is there anybody, I guess I'll ask this before we move on to the people who might get invited. Who's the most likely slip candidate, you think, in the first one? I know when we were doing the comments and someone mentioned Kasparish Yakashonis. I don't think there's a world Kasparish really slides out of the first round at all or anything like that. Is there a slide candidate for you in that first group?
This video is brought to you by NBA 2KLab.com. 2K Lab worked with us last summer as well. They're one of our favorite entities in all of sports gaming. We want to show you their college basketball stadium locator challenge game. And I'm going to share a screen right now as we do this. South Carolina, bang. Oh,
Ooh,
okay, that's pretty good. Next, North Carolina. Why are we only getting the Carolinas?
please
Bang.
lock in.
St. John's, that's New
New
York.
York.
Bang.
Where's New Jersey?
We're on fire. Colorado. I actually don't know what state Colorado is.
It's it's in Colorado. There's a state of
Is that
Colorado.
this one?
It's to the right of Phoenix.
Anyway, you get the picture. This game's really fun. They've got more games as well, like Guess the NBA Player, Mystery Fantasy Draft, and more. Stay tuned for all of the college football content and games that they'll be putting together to help you get the best experience out of college football 26. Back to the video.
I do think Yakashonis is a potential slide candidate, not out of the first round. I don't know if any of those guys would go out of the first round. Uh, Asa Newell to me and Derek Queen to me are the two slide candidates because there is the some of the physical profile stuff with Queen that are question marks, and you could see a team taking like an Asa Newell just for the athletic profile over Queen
Mm.
and then have him slide. The production for Newell wasn't always there, so there's a chance he slides as well in favor of some of these guys that have not gotten agreement invites yet. But I feel like there's a pretty solid like top 10, 11, 12 with this draft. So I don't think there's a ton. Uh, we're not going to see like a Filipowski, I don't think. Like a guy who was a green room invite pretty early on and then ends up going second round. I don't think we're going to get any of that with this group, but it wouldn't surprise me if uh, Queen fell maybe to the late teens, if Newell fell into the 20s, or even if Yakushonis fell into the 20s.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. And then also, so just according to Gavoni, because he's the person who came with this article, Asa Newell is the only player that is been invited in that first batch that's not projected to be a lottery pick. And there's a little bit more of an emphasis put on this too, because now the draft's 2 days. So like if
Right.
you don't get drafted and you're sitting in the green room, it's like you walk home and you gotta like, do you come back? So I think there's some emphasis put on there. I'll ask you this because obviously this means something to me. Does Jace Richardson get an invite?
I think he will. Like you got to have, you're going to invite 24 people.
Hmm.
I think he will be one of the 24. Um, but I like he's not a lotto pick. I think him checking in at what was it 6 foot without shoes?
Yeah, something like give or take a quarter of an inch.
Yeah, put a question mark on that. I think some team takes him, but he's somebody who I could see sliding to like the very end of the first round.
Yeah, I think so too. I I hope he's right around that, that range, I guess, of what I would call like borderline lottery. But it'll be interesting to see what are the other names that end up being in this kind of next batch of invites. Might see some international guys in there. I don't even know. I know
Colin Murray
Noah.
Boyles better be in there.
What'd you say?
Colin Murray Boyles better be in there.
Say, honestly, you never know, but I can't wait for Gavoni to let me know who will be there. Maybe Danny Wolf will get an invite. Who really knows? But we'll be looking forward to see who's in that next batch of players that will be attending the NBA Green Room.